we got some game twos to talk about for tomorrow. No, I didn't change jerseys between the last video and this one. Seems a little bit silly to me to have to change jerseys when I only did like a short one. And we're just moving on to tomorrow's games. I kind of consider this kind of a continuation from there. So let's talk about them. Colorado, Nashville. So we've got 2 early games and 2 late games. Colorado and Nashville. Of course, the series is 1-0 Nashville right now. Bernier made 27 saves in the first game. Bernier faced 31 shots. Rene faced 27 shots. See, I set all this up during the double overtime. Yeah, this is what happens. Colorado was 0 for 3 on the power play. Nashville was 1 for 2. Interesting stat. McKinnon, Rantanen, Jost, and Barrie all -2 for Colorado. Yossi and Ellis were +4. Subban and Ekholm were -2. Which is interesting. Means that the matchup that Colorado had against Subban and Ekholm worked pretty well, but the matchup that Yossi and Ellis had worked exceedingly well for Nashville. So while Colorado may have lost the game, there's some hope in that. And I think there is. I mean, I know the final score was kind of what it was, but I really think that Colorado could have won this game. I'll just come out and say I think Colorado could have won this game. I know where the score was, and I do think Colorado has more of a shot going into this game than other people might think. Of course, it hurts them with Varlamov out. That hurts them. I don't put Bernier in that category, but Varlamov, for all of the all the times that we talk about him being hurt, I don't know that his stats differentiate him from any other average goaltender in the league since he got to Colorado. He had one really good year, the year they got to the playoffs, and since then he's been average, and in some seasons below average. He's had health problems. So, you know, you look at where Colorado is, and, you know, maybe they can't get past Nashville. It is still the story of the year that they made the playoffs. And I'm looking forward to this game quite a bit, which is, well, it's not long enough away, thanks to Vegas and LA throwing my whole everything off. Trying to think of something else to throw in here. I mean, if Colorado can get their power play going, and if this series turns ugly the way that 2 of the 3 series did tonight, LA and Vegas is getting to that, but if this series can go the ugly route, I think that may favor Colorado. It often favors the underdog to make the series kind of a little bit dirtier, and because the games will get closer and they'll be grinding games, and sometimes that can favor just the team that wants it more, and maybe Colorado can get there. New Jersey. So Tampa gets the 1-0 series lead, much like the Nashville game. This game really could have gone either way. But there's an interesting thing here. So New Jersey had 31 shots. Tampa had 32. It's Kincaid and Vasilevsky again tomorrow. For all intents and purposes, that's what it appears to be. New Jersey was 1 for 2 on the power play. Tampa was 1 for 1, which reminds me of the 2011 Stanley Cup playoffs when Tampa had the deadly power play, when they were allowed to have it. Some interesting stats came out of this one. On the Tampa side of things, Palat had 3 points. Gourde and Johnson had 2 points. On the Tampa side, that is, on the New Jersey side, Taylor Hall had 2 points and was a -2. Taylor Hall played exactly 20 minutes in that game. And when I see him get 2 points and still end up being a -2, I wonder if he was gassed at the end of some of those shifts, if that's how he ended up with that stat. And again, I know plus-minus over a season doesn't mean a whole lot, but I do pay attention to it in-game in the playoffs because it tells you where the matchups are in favor of some teams and in favor of some players. And Hall didn't have a favorable matchup. Now, whether it was his line mates, the defense pairing behind him, whoever let the team down, or was something involving him directly, that's a telling stat. If Hall puts up a minus in a game, I can almost guarantee that Tampa wins it. Because Hall is far and above the best player that New Jersey has. And I'm saying that as a compliment to Hall, not as an insult to New Jersey. I don't have the energy to insult New Jersey after all the hockey that's been on today. And for Tampa, they likely watched the games tonight, saw Vegas eventually get the 2-0 series lead. Winnipeg gets the 2-0 series lead. And they got to be thinking, that's really the best way to use it. Make sure that you keep your home ice advantage. And, Nashville, of course, will be thinking the same thing in their matchup with Colorado. So it's interesting to me that the number 1 seeds and the number 2 wild cards will play to start the day tomorrow. Because those series are kind of key. If Colorado extends this and wears Nashville down, and then Nashville goes in against Winnipeg, if Tampa gets worn down and they're in against either Boston or Toronto, then they could definitely get knocked out in that next round. Absolutely. That's why sometimes it's not just who wins a series, but how do they win it? How many injuries they suffer? How roughed up do guys look? You're always going to be seeing players get hurt, and you're like, oh, he's done. And then he comes back on the ice, like, hey, you returned to the game, what a miracle. And in reality, if it was a regular season game, he wouldn't have come back at all. So there's a lot of that goes on, too. Toronto and Boston. This is the one that everybody's going to be talking about. Boston's up 1-0. Anderson and Rask are going to be your goalies. Kadri's suspended. Now, I want to say this to Toronto fans who keep saying Wingles is fine, he's not hurt. Wingles is not fine. Wingles is still, at this time, listed as doubtful for Game 2. Tommy Wingles is not okay. And it definitely looked to me like a concussion, and from what I saw. Either way, Boston put up 40 shots in Game 1. Toronto put up 27. You cannot beat Boston and allow 40 shots a game. You just can't. It's not going to work. Because Boston... It's not just the amount of shots, it's that they're very, very smart in their passing and in their shooting. And that it works for all 4 lines. So it doesn't matter if you're facing Bergeron or if you're facing Tim Schaller. They will make the smart play. Boston's very well coached. And I think this season has really shown that Bruce Cassidy is one of the better coaches in the league. I keep getting asked, like, who's the best coach in the league? And honestly, the honest answer right away is, well, Gerard Gallant. But I can come up with an argument for a lot of coaches right now, and I'm considering doing a list of my top 10 in a lot of areas, and maybe do coaching as well. But there's going to be polls going up on the channel as well about awards and who people think should get which one, and we'll include coaches in that. So stay tuned for that. I would think once we get through the first round and games aren't going until this late at night and there isn't so many games, that there'll be more time for me to devote to some of that more fun stuff. And because once you get to the second round, there's only 8 fan bases out of 31 that still really have a dog in the fight, that there'll be more people who are like, yeah, let's talk about something that's not related to the playoffs in this video. So I can maybe just forget that my team got destroyed in the first round. That kind of becomes a thing, and I have no problem catering to that, since usually teams I cheer for are out in the first or second round. And I did predict Boston would be out in the first round. Of course, the interesting thing with this is, now that Kadri's been suspended 3 games, that definitely changes the series. I know, Marleau slips into that number 2 center spot, throws Komarov up onto the first line, at least to start the game. I like Patrick Marleau. I've always liked Patrick Marleau. He's a solid veteran presence. But if Toronto's got him at second line center instead of Kadri, that is a downgrade. That is a downgrade, and it will ripple throughout the lineup. And Boston is definitely a team that can take advantage. Look, Boston went 3 for 6 on the power play in Game 1. Toronto went 0 for 3. Marner had 4 shots on goal, and Matthews and Bozak each had 3. So these are your guys. These are the ones that have to break through in the next game. If Toronto's going to steal this game tomorrow night, I would look for a goal early by Marner or Matthews, and possibly a second goal before the end of the first. Toronto's going to want to get goals early and often, because Boston, once they get rolling, yeah, they're kind of hard to stop. No team had a better record when allowing the first goal in the NHL than the Boston Bruins this year. So, just sort of a word on that. Points in the first game, Pasternak had 3. Krejci, Krug, and Marchand all had 2. And I am just as disturbed by Marchand's behavior in Game 1 as any Leaf fan, I don't want to see it in this next game. And yet, once he gets started like this, he often just keeps going. And I really don't know what the NHL is going to do about it, but they're going to have to do something. San Jose. So San Jose went in and did what a lot of teams aren't doing in the playoffs, and that is winning on the road. Home ice definitely is having a big effect on things. Winnipeg has won both on home ice now. Vegas has won both. Pittsburgh, it was a split between them and Philly, but look, home ice wins, home ice wins, home ice wins. San Jose, road team wins. So big win for them, and they can really take a stranglehold on this series with a win tomorrow night. Jones is in net. Gibson's in net. I'm not even looking them up because they have to be. I can't see Anaheim switching from Gibson because they didn't score. No goals on 25 shots, and they allowed 34. San Jose was 1 for 6 on the power play. Remember halfway through the year, I said Anaheim was allowing too many shots and they weren't getting enough, and that's a really horrible formula. It's a formula they followed in Game 1, and it's part of the reason they fell. Kane had 2 goals, 1 on the power play, and 6 shots on goal. So shutting down Evander Kane is step 1. Step 2, Brent Burns had 1 goal. He had 9 shots on goal. They need to shut that down. If Anaheim's going to have any chance of maintaining this advantage of having home ice, they must win tomorrow. There is no way around it. And they can't allow as many shots as they allowed in Game 1. They have to get that under control. And we need to see that scoring prowess in the playoffs from Corey Perry. Perry can't be taking penalties. He's got to be scoring goals. And Ryan Kessler's got to somehow find that next gear and start scoring goals too. They can't just rely on young guys and developing players like Kashe. They've got to say, you know what, we can do this, and go out and do it. It's going to be an interesting set of games tomorrow. Again, this isn't as in-depth as I've been doing them because I'm tired. It was a long day. And I know people on the East Coast are going to get notified. They're like, oh, seriously? I get it. So there's your 4 games. You guys can let me know who you think is going to win. Who you think, of course, is going to lose. It's going to be proportionate to who you think is going to win. And, hey, it's playoff time. I'm ready for some late nights. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. And I am doing this tonight because these games start at noon my time, 3 o'clock Eastern. Therefore, I need to get these up earlier. So, thank you very much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.